Twilight Zone episodes. Today at number 6, we've got The Midnight Sun. And this is one of those episodes that I used to think was really good, but now I tend to really hate. This is mainly because the plot of the episode is that the Earth has moved a few inches closer to the Sun, and as a result, all of society is collapsing, and it's really hot. And then at the end, the twist is that it was all a dream, and the Sun has actually moved a few inches farther away from the Earth, and thus it's very cold. My problem with this episode is that it's completely scientifically inaccurate, because in the intro, Rod Serling emphasizes that there is no night anymore, but he doesn't say that the Earth has stopped rotating. He just makes the blind assertion that the Sun has become so bright that there is no night anymore, but that's scientifically and physically impossible. If I have a sphere here, and I take a flashlight and point it at the sphere, only one half of the sphere can be lit up. Even if the flashlight is only an inch away from the sphere, unless the Earth were physically engulfed by the flames of the Sun, there would be one half of the Earth that would be consumed in night. The only way that both sides could be lit up simultaneously is if there were two suns. Which the episode doesn't allow for two suns, it's just that the Earth is a little closer to the Sun. If rotation had stopped, then I would assume everyone would go over to the side that would always be night, and I assume that if the Earth hadn't stopped rotating, then there would be a night. It would be a hot night, but there would be a night there, and maybe the night sky would be a little less dark, and the stars would be a little less visible. But to say that there would be no night and that the Sun would be directly overhead, that's scientifically impossible. The Sun can't be everywhere at once. The Sun is a tangible object. It's not magic. And so the first thing that strikes me about this episode is just the scientific inaccuracy of it, and its basic misunderstanding of astronomy. And you can say all you want, you Twilight Zone apologists out there, that Twilight Zone doesn't need to be scientifically accurate. It's a science fiction show. Science fiction doesn't mean scientifically inaccurate. It just means guessing at what might be, but the situation in Midnight Sun cannot be explained, and therefore it cannot be. It will never be. And some idiots even say that this episode, the same way Brain Center at Whipple's predicts automation, this episode predicts global warming. How does it predict global warming? The mechanism it presents is nothing like global warming. I mean, and judging by the dress on the characters, this episode takes place in the 1960s. It doesn't take place in the future. So how does the Earth just somehow happen to gradually go more towards the Sun? This episode doesn't explain it. This episode doesn't have a moral. It doesn't have a message, because as far as I know, the Earth hurtling towards the Sun isn't really a big problem. And it doesn't even... The twist isn't even that good, because the twist is equally depressing either way you look at it. Either you'll burn to death or you'll freeze to death. But this is what it gets really wrong. That a few inches between the Earth and the Sun doesn't matter, because in its orbit, in its average elliptical orbit, it's not perfectly circular, the Earth will have a difference of 1,000 miles between the Sun and itself. That's what causes winter and summer, and winter and summer are considered perfectly normal. And when you're 1,000 miles or so closer to the Sun, you get summer. And when you're 1,000 miles or so further away, you get winter. At the ends of the ellipses, it's colder. in the middle of the ellipses, it's warmer. This isn't a difficult scientific principle to understand. And yet, this episode is so stupid that it thinks a few inches towards the sun will make any difference. In terms of the cosmos, a few inches? That's on the atomic level. You can't say a few inches is going to kill anyone. The Earth goes far more than a few inches in and out of orbit every year. And you can't say that this wasn't readily available knowledge in the 1960s or anything either. I'm sure that the most advanced minds of the time, Einstein, Carl Sagan, Isaac Asimov, they knew this stuff. And all Twilight Zone literally have to do is just go to some credible source and ask them about how the Earth orbits the Sun, but they didn't even do that. And that's pathetic. Because I don't only look to science fiction for a cheap form of entertainment. I look for it... I see credibility in it that you can't get from fantasy. Fantasy relies on magic. Science fiction relies on science. You need to have real, believable science in it, or it comes out like pretentious garbage. And this episode comes out like pretentious garbage because it doesn't understand basic astronomy. And really, this episode is just kind of depressing. It doesn't understand how the Earth's orbit works. It doesn't understand how even light works. And overall, it's just like the most depressing episode. All the characters die either way. And it's just like, why do you torture these characters so much? And I don't hate the Burgess Meredith Apocalypse episode. But at least it's kind of fun to watch because Burgess Meredith is a good actor. And I mean, but think about it. He has a horrible wife, a horrible boss. They're horrible people. And he's a nice guy. Why does he deserve to live in this post-apocalyptic hellhole? You know, maybe he's isolated and gets to read his books, but then he just breaks his glasses. Does he deserve that? Likewise, do the people in the Midnight Sun really deserve to burn up in this fiery hell? I'd say not. I mean, what have they done? You know? The Nazi guy from Death's Head Revisited, he's a Nazi. He deserves to be tortured. The crooks in the Rip Van Winkle caper, they're planning some crimes and stuff and whatnot, and they deserve to be punished. One more pallbearer. He deserves to be punished. But what I really can't stand is Rod Serling just acting as judge, jury, and executioner for like this innocent painter lady and her old neighbor friend who's just like, you know, they're just like, oh shit, all the water's out, all the drinks are gone, we're gonna die. What's the point of it? I mean, even the one with the Adam and Eve in the jungle in New York, I mean, even that one is a more positive outlook on the future. In the Midnight Sun, they all just die. They just die, so it's like, what's even the point of telling this story? They all just die. Overall, this episode is kind of filler, and what I can't stand really about is the way that it acts like it means more than it really is, and it's scientifically inaccurate, like I said. Luckily, this one didn't gain as much popularity as the next one on our list, which is going to surprise a lot of you. So, that covers number 6, The Midnight Sun, where everyone dies. And that's the 6th worst. So, stay tuned, and we're about to get into the second half of our list where things get a heck of a lot worse, and you realize just how noxious this series can sometimes be.